We're living in a time where people are more connected than ever, yet lonelier than ever. Everyone talks about the loneliness crisis, but no one really talks about how to make friends. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a self-help guru. I'm just someone who's been lucky enough to build deep, decade-long friendships. And I've learned that it's not magic, it's intention. This is Friendships Unplugged, where we stop scrolling and start talking. Real stories, real friendships, good laughs, insights, and no filters. Welcome and enjoy. Hi, Jess. Welcome to Friendships Unplugged. It's so nice to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited. Today we're breaking out of our usual format because the reality is you and I don't really know each other. We are not friends, maybe not yet. You have responded to a shout out that I made on social media to ask if there's any people who struggle with loneliness sometimes. And the ask was done based on feedback I received to say, well, Iris, you keep talking about the loneliness crisis, but you never have actual, people who seem to be very lonely on your podcast. So I thought that was a very good input, and I shouted it out to the world, and the world responded. Oh, yeah. So maybe let's start with that straight away, Jess. So we had a short pre-talk before today's episode recording, and of course, you do have some people in your life, and the loneliness is not a constant. But maybe you want to say in your own words a little bit what made you respond to that, and what made you what resonated with this term and spoke to you about the loneliness.
So I think it was because the last year was an incredibly difficult year for me. I ended a friendship that was 14 years long. A lot of trauma. We'd been through so much, and it was one of those friendships that I thought was going to last forever. I'm not going to say too much because it's not about her and I don't want to put her on blast. But last year I felt incredibly lonely. Even before then, I didn't have a huge amount of friends, but she was like my person, my constant. And then when it ended, I just kind of spiraled, and I was like, I don't have my person anymore, and I felt truly lonely for the first time. And I tried to distract myself, and sometimes it just doesn't go away. And then I saw your video asking about, are there any lonely people out there who'd like to talk about it? And it just kind of hit me in the heart straight away. And I was like, yes, we are out here. And the more I've thought about it, the more I remember, I've been on and off lonely for most of my life. And it's only when you really sit and think about it that you think, yeah, it's really very much there, and it's a problem. Maybe not a problem so much, but sometimes it does feel like a problem. And as an adult, trying to make friends, because I have tried, keeping those friendships going and meeting new people is incredibly difficult too. So it's like I can't find new friends, but my old friends are gone, and I'm isolated, so it resonated hard. And I actually know more people who are feeling like me than who are feeling like you. So when I started watching, because I watched a couple of your podcast episodes, and I was like, wow, she's got so many friends. And and it's wonderful, and your friendships are beautiful, but I can't relate to that, so we are sort of polar opposites in that, essentially. So that was why it sort of really, my knee-jerk reaction was, that's me and I need to talk about it. Because I really do care about it, but it's also my life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, oh, and well, I'm very glad you responded, Jess, and I'm very sorry to hear about your person. And I don't know, uh, obviously you don't want to go into too much detail, but you said something that was interesting. You said, I've been on and off lonely throughout all my life.
Yeah.
And have you given it some thought why that may be?
Since we last spoke, I've really tried to sit and think about it, and I still don't know the answer because I think I'm a nice person. I'm not the most interesting of people, and I can be quite shy sometimes, and more so as I get older, I'm more introverted. But I have a big heart. I'm very generous, and I'm not one of these people who, like, I know a lot of people. I
Mm,
know maybe two that actively dislike me, so it's the ratio there of being liked, like I'm liked by a lot of people, to disliked, I'm disliked by very few people. But those people who like me aren't my friends, you know?
mm,
So I've tried to sit and think about why it might be. And I know we talked about it in our pre-chat, and I still don't really have an answer. I don't know. All the signs point to me. Hi, I'm the problem. But I still don't know what that issue is. I don't have an answer, and I feel like
mm,
if I did have an answer, maybe I wouldn't be lonely anymore.
mm.
Maybe that's the crux of it.
I just want to be very careful, right? I'm fully aware this is also new turf for me, right? So I just want to make it very clear I'm not a trained psychologist or
Yeah.
a subject matter expert. I started this podcast because I look at it like I'm very good at farming carrots. I have all these carrots as proof. And I hear there's a lot of people without carrots out there. So I assumed without having a degree in carrots, I'm sharing some of my carrot daily stories, so to say.
Yeah.
um, and by no means I'm an expert. I guess the only thing that is true is through my lived experience, the evidence is, all the carrots that I've
Yeah.
managed to carry throughout my life. I guess that says something. And I think there is maybe some learnings that I haven't always necessarily reflected very consciously on myself, that I hopefully can bring to people who feel lonely.
Mm.
And I'm also learning a lot doing this podcast, thinking about things consciously that I didn't need to dissect
Yeah.
before. And one of the things that I did learn during this podcast, it's almost like two different buckets, right? One is meeting people, and then the other one is maintaining friendships.
Yes. Yeah.
And out of these two buckets, so it sounds like you do meet people and you say you have a lot of people that like you. Would you say that you're doing okay in that first bucket? Or is there still a bit of a struggle and the desire maybe to meet new people and diverse people?
Yeah, I would love to meet some more people. What I mean when I say there's a lot of people who like me is it's like if I chose to go out and say I go to the pub, you know, I know that I can walk in there, and I've been in this town and in those pubs a long time, that most people would turn around and be like, "It's Jess," and I'd get big hugs, and
Mm,
everybody would know me, and most people would be pretty pleased to see me and would buy me a drink, and we'd probably have a really nice night catching up and chatting. But then we go our separate ways, and I
mm,
don't hear from those people again
mm.
until the next time I go into said pub,
Okay.
and it's like the people that I meet anywhere, really, like at work, for example. Like, I'm not one of these people who has to be liked at work, but lots of people like me at work. But once the day is over, they're not texting me asking me if I'm okay.
Mm,
They're not texting me on a weekend saying, "What you up to? Have you had a nice Saturday?" Or "I saw you were poorly. Is everything okay?" Or what tea are you drinking right now?
Mm,
You know,
mm,
nobody's calling me for a catch up. And it's all these different places where I put my attention that I have lots of acquaintances and I make a really good impression. I don't seem to linger in people's minds. And
mm,
I know that as I've got older, as I say, I'm more introverted. I know that partly it's down to me now because I don't go out so much. I am very much a homebody. I like my peace and quiet. I have my hobbies and I watch my movies and I read and I do things. I go on holiday by myself and I go to gigs by myself and I go to the cinemas by myself. And I love doing that. It's brought me a lot of peace. It's increased my confidence. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to make new friends and meet
mm,
new people.
mm,
It just feels like after a lived experience of being very forgettable to people, I feel like I'll get chatting to someone and I'll go, they're going to forget about me as soon as I leave this room. And they do, you know, and it's not because I present myself in a different way when I'm thinking that way. I am the same person no matter who
mm,
I'm talking to. But it never occurred to me when I was younger. But
mm.
as I've got older, really reflecting on why I don't have that many people in my life, it's just that, and I'm not trying to sound self-deprecating or, pity me, but I do seem to be forgettable. And I don't know why. And I think that's what causes those two buckets to be
Yeah,
very separate for
yeah,
me.
yeah. S- So thank you for going into details. There's a few things that I noticed. So one is you said none of your coworkers would call you on the weekend or text you if you're okay. So I'm just wondering, have you ever done that?
I have. Um, I've been at my current job about a year and a half now. I've tried to reach out. There's one person who I would genuinely call a friend. I've known him since I was at my old job, so going on like 7 years. So he would text me of an evening, and he usually texts me when I'm in the cinemas and I can't text him back, but he knows and he'll text me again going, "Oh, it's cinema time." Right, I know. But like my current team, we're all Northerners, we're all remote workers, and I get on really well with lots of them. And I've tried to bond
Mm,
with a couple of people
mm,
and reach out to them and text them. I have a lot in common with my current manager.
mhm,
Um, we both like the same things. We both suffer with endometriosis and polycystic ovaries, so we have the same health issues and we
mm,
both like the same things. So we read a lot and we um, hyperfixate on things and we drink
mm,
loose leaf tea. And there's all these little things that should
mm,
really bring people together. And I've really tried, but she does text me back, but then it ends with pleasantries. She's texting me back to be nice, and then it kind of ends. And she's
Well,
my age, so
mm, it,
it's not like it's a massive difference. And she's not like my boss. She's like
mm.
just a little bit senior to me. So in her head, she's not a boss at all.
Okay. I was
So
just going to say, because that can be a bit tricky, right? So I'm really good friends with two of my previous bosses, but during that constellation, we were always friendly and we could tell like we like one another, but you obviously have to be making sure you're not treating certain team members above others and so on, right? So
yeah,
there's certain boundaries that she probably has to be careful about as well. And I thought what also was interesting, what you were saying with the tea leaves and the common interests, it I find during these conversations in the podcast, yes, absolutely, having things in common can help a lot, especially establishing that
yeah,
initial dialogue and common ground. But at the end of the day, having hobbies and so on in common, to me, when I reflect back on my friend circle, that's really not a prerequisite. I think it can help, but the one thing that I find creates connections no matter what is if you have matching values,
Yeah.
right? And in my professional life, I've been in leadership roles for many years, and I've undergone a lot of leadership training and academic leadership training. And it's it's interesting how a lot of them are actually, of course, it's about business and stuff and processes and leadership styles and all that, but there is such a significant portion always about values, about
Yeah.
who are you. And having gone through these trainings, I learned so much over the years about my values, about the non-negotiable values. Like, why do I react so strongly, for example, if something is unfair, not just to me, but to anyone?
Mm.
I will always stand up for the underdog in the room because it's
Yeah.
something that is so true to my core. And when I look in my friendship circles, that's a trait that a lot of my friends have as well, right? It's like, current politics, this is really hard to
Yeah.
bear, with the Epstein, and there's just no flipping justice. And like, how is that possible, right? But it's that core values that really help to figure yourself out as well. And when you say you're not memorable, even though I don't know you, that hurts me because I believe there's someone for everybody. And I don't know, maybe there is a risk of this self-fulfilling prophecy almost when you believe that. I would almost, if you were my friend, I would highly advise you try and find out who you are in the core versus what you think the world wants to see in a potential friend. And
I think the thing is, though, sorry to interrupt. I know
yeah,
myself very well.
okay, okay.
I have very strong core values, and a lot of the time, some people are like, "Oh, she's a bit much. She believes in that too much." Because I'm like you. I I can't stand it. I'm very political, and the current climate makes me so angry. And I have those values in my core, and I know myself very well, which is maybe it's why I was when I was younger. I didn't know myself very well,
Mhm,
but now it's like I do. I know myself incredibly well, and I have very strong morals and very strong values. And I'm very much like you. I hate to see injustice in the world, and people call me for advice on how to stick up for themselves. Because I'm like I'm everybody's hype girl. I'm like, come on, you can do this. You've got to advocate for you. And I know that about me, but sometimes you meet someone and you just know that that's going to be a bit much for them, you know?
mm,
And I think it's finding a way to connect that's somewhere in the middle, because you've got to have a common ground to strike up a conversation. But
mm,
then to start, I would love to meet someone and instantly go, isn't the world falling to shit? Isn't
mm,
everything really unfair right now? Let's deep dive into that
mm,
immediately, and
mm,
let's get mad about it, and let's be
mm,
passionate and
mm,
maybe cry and scream and want to punch something because we care that much. But that's not how you meet people.
mm.
That's
Yeah.
not the impression that you can go around making, and you're not likely to find a person who reacts that same way. So in a way, I know myself so well that I know I've got to dial that back, because people who just meet you don't react to that. It's
Yeah.
not a way to start. I feel like I need to ease people into me.
Oh God,
Without that
yeah. But
sounding rude, if that makes sense.
no, it totally makes sense. But I guess this is kind of where I'm thinking. So there's almost two opposites now I'm hearing. So I'm like, I'm forgettable. That sounds a bit wallflowery or like nothing important to contribute. Or why would people forget you if you're, I don't know, it sounds like you make yourself insignificant. But then here you are very strong with a lot of very strong
Yeah.
opinion, and you have to soften yourself down. And I mean, that part is a bit alien to me, but I can just kind of mirror what it sounds like. That part, the second one, is very familiar to me.
Yeah,
And I've always walked through my life, I've heard left, right, and center that I'm too much,
too much.
for a girl, especially for a girl, you're a bit tough. It's like, ah, this and that. I heard it in business, I heard it in private. And I tried the whole tuning down thing, and I don't know when it happened, really. It got so hard to
Exhausting.
pretend, yes, to pretend
Yeah.
to be someone else. I think I couldn't help myself of just being me. And, I'm 43 years old now. I'm I'm work-wise on a director level, and you want to hear me talking to people, the amount of swearing I do.
Yeah.
And I do it consciously now because I enjoy it. I mean, I can perfectly speak well without swearing, right? I know how that works, but I swear every now and then now with gusto,
It's
just
cathartic.
because I know, yeah, and just because
Yeah.
I know I've earned my place, I've earned the respect, and there's nothing cooler than as a woman to say a loud fuck or this is bullshit. I enjoy it. And yes, you're right. I do have a lot of friends, hence the podcast. But what I also thought was interesting, you said that there is a lot of people like me. There is not a lot of close friends, but there is also not a lot of people who hate me. Now, I have a lot of people who really like me, but there's a lot of people who truly are pissed off by me, right? Because I'm just too much. I'm too strong. I have too strong opinion. Um, the beauties I stopped caring so much. And do you remember in the prep call we talked about Brené Brown? And I don't know if you got around
I
to
did
watch
watch it,
the
yeah.
TED Talk. And there's this whole notion of I'm not taking advice from people who don't have the guts to show up in the arena.
Yeah.
Like I'm being brave and vulnerable. I put myself into the arena. If you did the same, I gladly take advice or criticism from you. But if you're just on a sideline, yeah, I'm not listening to you.
No,
And
exactly. When I watched that, I was like, oh my God, I love her.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
she's
really, it
amazing,
really
isn't it?
resonated with me because I don't care if people hate me. Like and I think that's been the case for 20 years. I'll be 36 at the end of this month. And I don't care if people hate me because the vast majority of the time I probably don't like them very much either, and why would I care?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? Like I'm
Well,
not
there you're
gonna
already
waste
way
my
ahead
time.
of a lot of people then.
Yeah, it's a
That's
waste of
yeah.
energy sitting and fretting and wondering why doesn't she like me? I can't be bothered with that. I've got better things to be doing. Not a lot of them, but I've got better things to be doing than worrying about why somebody doesn't like me.
Hmm.
So I think it's just there may be more that people that actually really don't like me that I've just not taken the time to think about. you
Yeah,
know?
but hey, be very proud of that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that's one of the big things that
Yeah.
almost everyone on this earth struggles with, right? It's
Everyone
like, oh
wants
my
to be
God,
like,
what's the impression I give and what do
yeah.
people think of me? So well done. You, yeah, I mean, honestly, well done. You not letting that stuff take space in your mind. Well done.
Yeah.
That's a major life lesson there.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. I don't think it makes me any more likable though.
I actually think it's cool because and that's what kind of thrown me off a bit with the I'm forgettable. Because I mean, we only spoke once, and I feel you've got a strong personality and you
Yeah,
say what you have to say. And there is a directness which some people struggle with, especially if it comes from a woman. But I mean, so many more people love that. It's cutting the bullshit, right?
yeah,
There's no sugarcoating. And you mentioned as an example there, oh, you can't just go to a stranger and say, oh my God, isn't it terrible? The world is falling apart. Why not? Even business network events, especially in the last few weeks, I have to get it off my chest, you know? And even this morning in a meeting, we took half an hour. Once the first person broke the ice saying, "Oh my God, isn't this fucked up with Iran?" And then suddenly everybody chimed in and we completely ignored the actual meeting agenda. But it was cathartic, you know, that people got together and they're like, "Oh my God." And I wouldn't say probably these people will become my friends due to that automatically, but I I'll remember them being vulnerable together,
Yeah.
right? And it makes them, to me, they are now already more likable.
Yeah.
Not because they agreed with me, but because they let their hair down.
A passion about something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we're all humans behind our business titles and whatnot, right? And yeah, well, that makes us likable.
I like to think so. Yeah. I think this is when you ask me why I'm lonely, this is why I don't know, because either side of my personality should, on the surface, in theory,
Hmm,
be very attractive to other people. Sometimes it's what society wants, sometimes it's not, but I show up as me and I'm not desperate to be liked,
hmm,
but it would be nice to be liked,
hmm,
you know? And it's tricky, but I've stopped watering myself down for sure.
hmm,
I'm a lot more like you and have been becoming that over the last sort of 10 years, that it's too tiring to try and hide it all the time, but it does make my world smaller, I
hmm,
think. And I'm not sure, yeah, I still don't have an answer as to why. But I think there'll be a lot of people who maybe feel just like me and who are like, I care about stuff, I'm passionate about things, and I'll say it out loud, and people give me this really weird look, and then they don't like
hmm,
me anymore.
hmm,
I'm like, a part of me just wants to say, fuck them. But
hmm,
then that's not easy for people
hmm,
when they think about the idea of losing friends because of strong opinions. That's not easy for some people, and that's got to be empathized with, because I think it's human nature
yeah,
to want to be liked
yeah,
desperately,
yeah,
to be loved even, and to want other people to want your company.
yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
it's one of those things, as humans, we're supposed to be in groups and we're supposed to protect each other and look after each other and love each other and want to be around each other. But now there's so many things getting in between us,
Hmm,
and I feel like it's figuring those things out and finding a happy medium sometimes.
hmm,
And I'm quite lucky in the sense that the friends that I do have mean the absolute world to me, and they're very precisely chosen,
hmm,
and they're incredible people, um, who I would do anything for and who would do anything for me. They've shown up for me more times than I can count. But then, as proven last year, that can just
hmm,
go away no matter how long or what you've been through. And when I said I was forgettable, as I say, I didn't mean it in a pitying way. I do feel sorry for my younger self because she didn't know who she was, and she
hmm,
was very confused, and she had more best friends than sh- a teenager should have throughout her life. I think I had a different best friend every year because they
hmm,
would find somebody else, and they didn't want me around anymore. And I do feel sorry for young Jess because it it kind of became normal. She never questioned it. It
hmm,
was just like, oh, okay, let's find the next person who might like me. And it's sad to look back, but she was going through a horrible time and didn't recognize it most of the time. And now I wish I could just give her a cuddle and be
hmm,
like, you may not ever find that massive group of friends that you want, but you won't be lonely forever and you won't feel so insecure forever, I promise.
hmm.
You know. because I don't feel lonely all the time.
Yeah.
Like
And
most of the time I don't actually.
yeah, and also be careful what to wish for. You know, the goal shouldn't be to have a massive group of friends. Because let me tell you this, this sounds weird when I'm talking to someone who wishes to have more friends and I have so many, but it's sometimes it's a full-time job and sometimes it's really a struggle to balance and kind of most of my friends are very understanding. They know I have so much going on, so very few would actually like, hey, it's been months. But every now and then it happens, and then I'm guilt tripping, and every now and then I'm thinking, God, I have too many friends. It's you know, it's that was yeah. Again, apologies for how this sounds, but it's maintaining, you know, trying to meet everyone at least a few times a year. You know, I lived in four different countries, so travel back and forth for weddings and christenings and birthdays and so on. It's where I spend a lot of my holiday, a lot of my money, and I happily do so. But sometimes it becomes really a stress as well, and I realize I crave alone time. So again, by no means this is the standard, right? I feel honestly that what is the deep desire of the human being is belonging, to have
Yeah.
someone you can share your life with. If this is a romantic partner, if this is one friend, if this is five friends, if it's 30 friends, I almost feel it doesn't matter because there is this, if we can't share, what's the meaning of it all? If
Yeah.
we don't have someone who cares and we care about their life and stuff happening, what does it all matter? But
Yeah.
of course, with your example that this can change overnight after 14 years, of course, you're kind of scared of that group that you have, that something similar may happen. Now, I don't know what happened, but, you know, I'm just thinking, I don't know if this has taken place. I'm a very curious person, so I feel I deal very well with conflict because whether or not that's healthy is the other question. But first of all, I turn inwards, right? If someone has an issue, I don't go offensive straight away. I look at the mirror, kind of, oh, I
What is it?
probably said something, or and I would, if whenever there is a problem, and that goes for business as well as friendships as well as relationship, I'm very direct in addressing something. I would say, okay, I feel this and that feels off, whatever happened, right? And not everybody can deal with that, but most of my friends appreciate that direct communication. Have you ever gone back to some of these older friendships to try and understand what happened? Or would that
Um,
be weird?
I've thought about it, and there's a few that like I was thinking about it the other day, and like the best friend that I had when I was 17, she has a massive like she has a high paying job, a husband, two kids, two dogs. So she's in that family bubble now. We haven't spoken in years,
Mm,
but if I needed her and I texted her going, I'm desperate, I'm stuck, I need your help, she
mm,
would be there for me, and I know
mm,
that. Um,
mm,
and I don't have to worry about that, but I know that I've reached out in the past and it's been like, yeah, yeah, let's meet up. You need to meet the baby. We've got a new dog. You need to come meet him. And then it's just never happened because she's so busy with her life. And
mm.
I don't have that. I don't envy that, believe me. But I am understanding that her life it looks very different to mine. And she has a lot more going on, and I get that. There's some friendships I would never want to revisit. There's some that, you know, I honestly can't think of a friendship that ended because of an argument. And
Mm.
this is where the quandary is.
That's
They
sometimes
all
almost the worst, right? Because
honestly, it's
you
worse.
can't put the finger on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
And I think because they've all just kind of fizzled out and I've just kind of naturally gone, okay, time to move on. They've moved on from me, so it's time for me to move on. And like the case with my ex best friend, there wasn't a falling out as such, but I'm very much like, okay, I'm looking at me and wondering if I did something, but I'm the person going, let's have it out. Let's have the fight.
Mm,
You
mm,
say to me what you want to say, and we'll
mm,
get it out in the open. Give me a chance to apologize if I've done something. If you've
mm,
misunderstood, you can apologize to me. Let's have the fight,
mhm,
because it gets it all those feelings out there
mm,
and they need to
mm,
be out there. To me, I was fighting for something that meant everything to me,
mm,
and she decided to not fight,
mm.
and she just let go.
That
And
hurts
yeah,
because it seemed easier. And
probably, yeah.
yeah.
And she unfriended me on Facebook without telling me. And I
Mm,
had to figure out, because I thought I've not seen her post in a really long time. And she posts a lot, and I thought maybe it's just my timeline, everything's
mm,
mixed up because the algorithm sucks on Facebook. Um, but then I looked for her profile and it had gone because she has it on private. So I went through our chat and she'd unfriended me and she
yeah.
didn't tell me. And I am godmother to her son.
Oh,
And, you know, I will never not be in his life. And I made that very clear when things first started devolving. Um, but she just decided to let go. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's really painful, you
yeah.
know? And I'm still like, let's have the fight. I want to fight about this because it's worth fighting for. And apparently to her it wasn't worth fighting for, you
Mm,
know? And if she feels that way, I have to accept that. I know where she lives. I could go knocking on her door, but I'm not going to do that because it obviously doesn't mean as much to her. And it's difficult, but I need to accept that. But I do wish there'd been some kind of I think if we'd sometimes ending on bad terms is more understandable than ending
mm.
on no terms,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
It's just I spent most of last year just confused
yeah.
and completely depressed. I have depression and anxiety and PTSD, and with my depression comes a lot of rejection sensitivity.
Mm,
And she knows that, and
mm,
she's always been, it's not like I'm completely needy, but whenever I've felt low, she's known that that's what I need. I need that reassurance.
mm, mm,
And it's very much a case of she's gone now, and I have to deal with that rejection on my own because I have no explanation.
mm,
And that's the confusing part. And again, I'm not looking for any pity because these things happen and worse things
mm.
are happening
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
world,
yeah. No,
you
I
know.
get it. But it's that closure not being there. I would struggle with
Yeah,
that as well.
it is hard.
And one of my best friends, she's in the podcast as well. We talk about this in the podcast. We struggled for many years. So we have very similar values, but in the way we communicate and in our characters, we are quite different. And actually, it was during the podcast when these words came to me, and I'm like, that's really it. She can be very black and white and come across harsh when she makes statements like yes or no. And I'm the opposite. I'm trying to understand every side. And yes, I'm also going to have an opinion. And typically it's going to be strong, but I'm gathering a lot of input until I have an opinion. And then still, if you come up with good arguments, I'm still capable to like, ah, shit, yeah, I haven't seen that perspective. So I'm going to adjust it.
Are you a
And
Libra by any chance?
no, a Virgo.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
All good, all good. And um, she is the only friend that really I've had a few clashes with, really like getting upset. And I'm the type, I'm like, I can't sleep if there's an argument. Same in my relationship, right? Can we please fix it before we go to sleep? Like, I need things sorted.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna need 2 months. Leave me alone. And it killed me, you know. I was like, but why? Sorry, sorry, sorry for whatever I've done, right? And we then would be able to speak about things and find each other again. And every time I would be more understanding of her perspective and she of mine and all that, and the way we communicate. But one of the worst fights we had is I actually written her and putting things in writing, right? And in these ways of communications, obviously, it's very important that you don't get offensive and the whole me perspective, like I perspective, I feel, I interpret, blah, 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 not you have done and you did this and so on. And I made sure that because I wanted the friendship keep going, I offered verbally, obviously, many times my hand, and I
Yeah.
tried to explain from my side without getting accusative and so on. And that, since that email, we never had a fight anymore because,
Really?
yeah, yeah. And that's been like 12 years or so.
Oh,
And before that, every couple of years, we would clash on one another. And I'm not saying that this is the secret medicine for everybody, but
it
maybe
was.
that could be a way because I do understand that you want closure and you can't force someone who avoids confrontation at all costs, right? That's hard, but it almost feels a bit too big to give up on it yet.
Yeah.
And,
I know what you mean, and I have thought about it. I think I'm just navigating being on the other side of it,
mm,
because I know her. She is the epitome of confrontation. She is
mm,
a like she would call herself a radical feminist. She's very
mm,
big in those circles. She's the one with a megaphone in the crowd screaming about her beliefs, and she'll argue with anyone, who
mm.
she disagrees with. And I make her sound like a tyrant, but she's one of those people who doesn't avoid the confrontation. And I think
Okay.
because she won't have the fight with me, that kind of makes it harder.
Yeah.
But it's very much like I'm on the other side of that now, and I'm sort of, as I say, navigating being without her. And I did think of writing her a letter actually, but every time I thought about it, I thought at first I thought this hurts too much to
Mm.
write about, and then I got to a point where I was like, is it even worth my time
Yeah.
and my
Yeah.
energy and my tears?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's not anymore. So
Okay.
it was definitely a thought in my mind for a very long time, and one of my actual friends was like, is it worth it?
Mm.
Because you seem like you're in a better place now. You seem more content now. Are you ready to go back into that space? And I
Yeah.
was like, no, I'm not. I'm not
Okay.
ready for that one
Okay.
person to put me
Yeah.
back in that space. It doesn't stop me missing her, and it doesn't stop
Mm.
me feeling that emptiness without her.
Mm.
But she chose to create that, and
Mm.
if that's what she wants, I need to respect that, I guess. But I think there's also something cathartic about letting something go.
Yeah.
If you know
Yeah.
from the other side of
Yeah.
it that
Yeah.
they don't want to fight for you, then there's
Mm.
something quite healing about going,
Mm.
okay, I've got to
Mm.
be okay with that.
And honestly, when I listen to you, it sounds like if you don't know what you're actually missing. So this may be a kind of a stubbornness reaction to say, yeah, I'm better off without her. But if it actually is true,
Mm,
then, and it's something I observe, so many people stay in friendships just because they've known each other forever, right?
yeah,
And by the way, it's the same with romantic relationships. Geez,
yeah,
how many unhealthy couples are staying together just because it's easier,
exactly.
right?
And I spent a lot of time last year, like I said, dwelling on it. And then the last 6 months of last year, I kind of got into this space of when I was thinking about her, I was like, I don't really know this woman anymore. The woman that was my best friend, that was my sister, would never have done this to me. So the woman
Okay.
that she is now, I don't know her. And I
Okay.
thought back to the couple of years before this happened and all the conversations we had and all the times that I felt heard were very few.
Mm.
the amount of times she would ask me about my life
Yeah.
was very few. And I
I,
realized that maybe it was more superficial than I wanted it to be
mm,
for, for longer than I thought
yeah.
it was.
And something I observe a lot when we talk about friendship, they're like, I don't have someone who looks after me when I'm down, right?
Yeah,
When I'm not doing well. And that's why I'm lonely. And we tend to feel the most lonely if we're not in a good place and we don't have a shoulder to cry on or someone to lean on. But the opposite is true as well, right? If something really good happens and you don't have anybody to share it with, that
mm,
equally hurts as well. And one friend of mine put it like a seesaw, right? So we all have times where we're not well, and obviously, especially when you struggle with mental health, but it's that kind of give and take, right? It's you know, also make sure that you share the positive stuff,
yeah,
right? Because I have someone in my family, for example, you only hear from them when they're really low. And then
I
twice
kind
a
of dread
year,
talking to them
yeah,
after a while.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, this has been going on for years, right? And it's even gotten to a point where I'm like, there's still struggle with guilt for not taking calls or so.
It's
But
hard
it's
when it's family.
Yeah, exactly. But there needs to be a positive as well. And a lot of people seem to think it's when everything is in shambles, you need to lean on someone, but it's consciously making an effort to also spread the joy and the good
Yeah,
things that happen, right? And the other thing is, we talked about the values, is try and find your tribe. If political, outspoken people, directness is your thing, I would say go and find those, because you having to fake being someone else or tune yourself down or whatnot, that's not going to make you
no, it doesn't
happy.
work.
There's enough crazy people out there in places that you wouldn't think. I have some of my most nut job friends I worked with in very prestigious jobs,
Yeah,
and they're reliable citizens, but give them a couple of drinks and suddenly you're dressed up and all harmless, but good crazy, Let's
yeah,
book a trip to Mallorca tomorrow. Yes, okay, lovely. Let's go and pack. And for me, crazy is actually a good thing,
yeah,
and directness is a good thing. And having to make yourself smaller to fit someone's expectations is not going to make you happy, is not going to make them happy. I would argue there's a lot of tribes out there that would appreciate someone like you. You just haven't found them yet. And the other thing that I heard actually on another podcast about loneliness, I thought that was quite cool. They said, well, they made it a rule, they just never turn down an invitation. And we all have that feeling, and believe me, I have it as well, because our agenda is always full. I have it so many times when you're tired from work and you're like, oh, okay, it's Friday, 5 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, we have dinner there. Then we have this. Saturday morning, we're at this family. And then in the afternoon, right? And then boom, it's Monday morning and you had zero relaxing time. So yeah, it can be daunting. But I also know that once we're coming home, we're like, yeah, okay, it was cool
that was
after
fun.
all. It was awesome seeing them and so this and that. So maybe as a social experiment, try and say yes to every chance you get to go out. I know it's more comfortable at home, but just to kind of meet new people. Um,
Yeah,
and
definitely. I
then,
mean, it's getting those opportunities, but when, you never know when they're going to pop up. And I think
mm,
there was something, I was watching the episode of your podcast with, is it Fiona?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And she said something that struck me actually. She said that she is incredibly intentional when she
mm,
meets people. I mean, I also have it in my head, I sort of see it as dating,
mhm,
but
yeah,
she said that she is very intentional, so she will meet someone and she will say out loud, I am being intentional. I would like to be your friend. I would like to pursue this
mm,
friendship. This
mm,
is what I believe in.
mm,
Is that something you're interested in with
mm,
me?
mm.
And I was like, oh my God, that's really brave, but also, why can't I do that? You know, and it was just, I don't know why it was a revelation because I'd made that correlation between making friends and dating as an adult
Mm.
a very, they stir up very similar feelings. It's all
Yeah.
about making a good impression and, you know, things like that.
And it's
But
about
that intention,
daring to go into the arena,
yeah,
right? And you're being totally vulnerable. You're
yeah,
risking a big fat no, and
yeah,
that means you're getting hurt. And I actually loved when Fiona said that as well. But I was like, oh wow, that's
yeah.
gutsy. I mean, I have a big mouth, but I probably wouldn't have the balls to say this.
I think it's
However,
never occurred to me before either, you
yeah,
know.
but honestly, why not take a version of it to say,
Yeah,
I know this sounds weird, we just met, but hey, do you want to hang? Yeah, it
that's right.
doesn't need to sound desperate, but I mean, how cool if someone strange comes and say, "Hey, struck me like a really cool person." I mean, that's a huge compliment, right?
I would love that.
But
Yeah.
there
And
you
uh,
go.
I don't
But
know why it
maybe,
didn't occur to me that other people would
yeah,
also find it a compliment. Like the thing is, we do it as kids, you
yeah,
know,
exactly,
like you
exactly.
just go up to someone in the playground and go, I like your cardi. Can we be friends? And
Yeah,
it's like, you're
exactly.
friends. And it's
Yeah,
like, why does it have to be so difficult now? You know, like where are the social rules that say you can't ask that of another adult? Like, why not? Why
yeah,
can't I do
yeah,
that?
yeah,
It probably is
yeah,
it's a rule, and that's probably why most people feel like they can't say it as an adult. But it
yeah.
thinking about it after hearing Fiona say it, I was like, I would love it if somebody did that to me,
Well,
you
see,
know, showed me
see,
that
yeah,
intention. So why
yeah.
can't I give that to somebody else?
And I keep coming back to that arena thing. I imagine in lonely moments and low moments, we were like, why is nobody calling me? Like, why, is my phone being silent? Why does nobody care? But it is a two-way effort, right?
It,
And the moment you make an effort, you're stepping into the arena versus when you're not doing an effort. So stepping into the arena means, yes, you probably will get a no here and there. You probably
yeah,
will get hurt a little bit, but how hurt are you really if you don't know these people, right?
okay,
You
yeah.
said yourself, you're not everyone's cup of tea, but
I
not
don't
everyone
care if
is
people
yours
don't like me.
either.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I gotten to know you now as a very direct person and as a person with great humor. So why not combine the two and do your own chess version of what Fiona was doing?
Yeah.
And kind of like, look, I know we just met, but I really enjoyed our conversation. Should we go for a beer?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I know that a lot of it falls on me because I don't go out much, so I don't really help myself, but I feel like I do want to. And it's not the main thing, but if I didn't want to, I don't think I would be talking to you because I don't
Mm,
think it would be an issue. So
mm,
I clearly, there is a huge part of me that would love to have even one more person to just
mm,
call and sit and chat with for a couple of hours, you
mm,
know, just about nothing and everything and happy stuff and sad stuff and the last film that we saw. And
mm,
that would be so nice. I would love that. So I think it's again, I'm not actively lonely most of the time. I think a lot of the time I would just really, really like to have another human connection in my
mm,
life,
mm,
which I think are two very different things.
mm,
And the one that I feel, the craving human connection, is something that I actively need to put myself out there to get
mm,
because I can sit in the happy in my life and happy in my quiet time and not feeling lonely and I can sit in that and enjoy that. But then
mm,
when I come to actually, have I got anyone I can call right now?
mm,
Not
mm,
really. I
mm,
haven't got anybody. I need to do that for
mm.
myself.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there is this
Uh,
there's got to be me taking responsibility for that as well, I think.
And you know what, Chess? I just thought of this now. You have now an additional argument to have these deeper conversations. You can say to an acquaintance, do you know what? I just participated in a friendship podcast
Yeah.
and I've been thinking about friendships now, and I realize I've never talked for a full hour on friendships. And ask the other person questions. And you can say, like, this person asked me, like, how I made friends. And it made me realize it's never been a very conscious effort. And then involve that other person into the conversation. Because
Yeah.
let me tell you this, Jess, even friends that I've had for 20, 25 years that I had on this couch, I never spoke with them about our friendship or any friendship for an hour
It's not
either.
something you do, is it? You don't
No.
deep
And it's
dive into
been
your
so
friendship.
telling. It's been
Yeah.
so telling. It's the way that we all look at friendships now is
Do you
has
feel a new
changed.
appreciation for those
It's
connections with
absolutely,
people?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
that's really nice.
So I would actually encourage you to strike up a conversation with someone you want to maybe take it to the next friendship level, and
Yeah.
kind of blame it a little bit on this conversation to say, hey, like I never realized, I never really thought about it so much, but what I learned about myself, and how do you see it, and what does it mean for you? And I bet you there's going to be some very interesting conversations coming out of this.
Yeah, definitely. I think even if it's, like I've already like after our first chat, I've already said to a couple of people I'm going to be on a podcast about friendships, and they've gone, "Oh my God, that's really cool." Because making friends is really hard, and I'm like, I know, that's what I'm going to be talking about. So that's, I think it just kind of cemented that my experience is going to resonate with people, but also I think people are desperate to talk about it. They just don't want to seem desperate. So I think if I can
I
be the one
fully
to start
understand.
that conversation, because
Mm.
nobody wants to meet a new person and go, oh my God, I'm so lonely.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
nobody wants to start. That's not a good impression to make on
yeah.
somebody. But the more I've talked about it, because I'm very open and I love the friends that I have, but they are like two people,
Mm,
and I'm very open about it. And some people go, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you?" And some
mm,
people go, "Yeah, well, I get it.
mm,
I have one or two people in my life, and that's it for me too, because meeting people and keeping friendships is really, really hard, and it's
yeah,
hard work as well. And
it is. Yeah.
I think that's the
Or it
thing.
can be. It can be.
It can
It's
be.
very rewarding, and if it's not there, the absence is clear. But yes, it does require intention and effort on
Yeah,
both sides, right?
on
It's
both
okay if
for sure.
one side is temporarily a bit lower and so on. It's not an exact tit for tat, but things like respect and time and effort, they need to flow both ways.
They all need to
Otherwise,
be
it's
mutual.
not
Yeah,
working. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So Jess, I'm very curious. Do let me know how you're getting on. And I don't know if I if this podcast or this conversation taught you anything helpful. I hope it did a little bit.
Did, yeah. I think talking to you, because your experience is so different to mine. Like you said about me, I feel it too. Like in the nicest possible way, I can't relate to your life, you know. And I think it's a good conversation for people like me and you to have. And I think sometimes just saying things out loud is very healing.
Mhm.
And I think can be quite telling as well, because you never know, like this is why therapy works so well, because you say things and then you go, oh my gosh, I never realized that was a thing before,
Yeah,
now I've just
yeah,
said it out loud and
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
real thing.
yeah,
And then it's
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
welcome to therapy.
Yeah.
So it definitely, like, that's why I love the idea of podcasts in general. Not everyone should have one, but the vast majority can be very, very healthy conversations and discussions, and beneficial for both people, I feel.
Absolutely.
And I've really enjoyed getting to know you as well. I know I've probably talked for most
Likewise.
of this, but getting to know you and watching your podcast and seeing your friendships kind of dissected, it's really, really interesting for me, because I'm seeing lots of different friendships,
Yeah.
sprouting from one person. And
Yeah.
I hope that I've shed some light on the other side of things for you.
Thank you.
Not that I'm here to, I'm not like, I am a walking teachable moment. That's not what I'm here for, you know.
No, but honestly,
But
thank you so much for being so brave and coming to a stranger's podcast. Because exactly as you said, nobody wants to be saying, "Yeah, I'm lonely." So I really enjoyed getting to know you. I'm so grateful for your open and I mean this is raw, right? You've been very vulnerable here, and thank you for that. Um, and, I started this podcast after thinking about the topic of friendship for so many years, and I came across like distantly about the loneliness crisis and again some family, incidents and so on. But I've been fortunate to not feel lonely myself, or have I very lonely people in my circle. But I had a feeling, and you confirmed that my life is maybe not normal for everyone. So again, coming back to the carrots, I'm like, okay, somehow I ended up with all these carrots. Somehow I seem to have gotten very good at getting carrots. So why not share some of that wisdom? And I'm glad there is people out there that it's hopefully helpful to. And also what you said, all of these friends, one is completely different than the next one. And
yeah,
that's something I want to show. Yes, having things in common is sometimes helpful, but I've also had people say, yeah, but what is the likelihood that they also like this, and this? And I said, well, it's not a box ticking exercise.
no,
Like, do you have fun? Can you have good conversations? Yeah, fine. If there is no interest in these two boxes, don't talk about that then, or learn about his unfulfilled boxes or whatnot. But
but healthy debate is very good. It forms part of a lot of good friendships that I've had in the past. So you don't, as long like you said, there's going to be things that you absolutely need. What's the word
like
that I'm
non-negotiable. Or
non-negotiables? Yeah, there's going to be those, but that could be maybe three, four things, and then everything else you
yeah,
can
the
yeah,
person carrying this core value can have any possible combination of facets, of
exactly.
characteristics, right? If I had to put the finger on something, it's I'm not just open to differences. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
And I'm someone, I go and ask a lot of questions. Ooh, really, how does that work? Show me
Tell me about
pictures.
that.
And then suddenly I'm interested, and the person, most people like to be asked about their interests and stuff. And then boom, you're in a conversation already. So
Yeah.
yeah. So Jess, please do let me know how you're getting on. And if you do try your own version of the Fiona thing, I'm so curious. Do let us know how you're getting on. And it's been a
I will.
pleasure getting to know you. And if I'm ever again in England, I'd love to have a beer with you.
That would be awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you for giving me a space to be a bit vulnerable and to open up. I think more of these spaces should exist for people who just need to talk about something really real. So thank you very much for providing that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
absolutely, if you're ever over here, yeah, for sure, give me a call.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Jess, and I wish you all the best, and
Thank you. You too.
hopefully see you soon.
I will talk to you soon.
Take care.
You too.
If you like this content, follow the show and find us on social media. See you there.